Hey babes, my name's Hannah.
And my name's Chasity.
Welcome back to Bookish Babes. Today we're going to be giving you guys our June reading wrap up. I'm super excited about it. I read some good ones and some okay ones. I had a very mixed month, I'm not going to lie.
You know, I did too, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't read any bad books.
I read one that I did not enjoy, but and you'll understand when I talk about it. I don't know if I can necessarily say it's bad because it's not really my type of book.
Okay.
So I don't know how to gauge it, you know?
I gotcha.
Yeah,
I read some really good ones and some okay ones.
Yeah.
I didn't have any very low starring ones this month, so that's good.
I had a 2-star.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But that's the one I was talking about where I almost feel like, is it a 2-star?
Sure. Okay.
Because it's like not something that I typically read, so I didn't know how to rate it.
Okay. Well, the first one that I read was The Maidens by Alex.
Is that the person who wrote The Silent Patient?
Yeah, The Silent Patient.
Okay.
The same author. I'm like terrible at saying that last name and I really don't want to butcher it. Mm-hmm. But I was really excited for The Maidens because I really loved The Silent Patient. I know I've talked about The Silent Patient a lot. The Maidens, I definitely gave it 5 stars. I don't think it lived up to the hype of The Silent Patient, but then again, I feel like they were 2 different types of books.
Was it still a thriller?
It was still a thriller, but I didn't feel like it was as much of a psychological thriller. I felt like it was a little bit more like a crime thriller. Like it was a little bit more like Law and Order type.
Yeah.
But I really did love it because it was on a college campus and we were following one instructor who believed that one of the college professors was the murderer, and she was convinced of it, and at each murder there was like kind of a calling card and it linked it to a Greek tragedy.
Oh. So,
and I'm like a freak about Greek mythology, so I definitely loved that whole little connection. The only downside for me was like the ending was not as spectacular. It was good. It wasn't like the wow factor. I wasn't like, oh my god, I never saw that coming.
It wasn't like The Silent Patient.
Yeah, it wasn't The Silent Patient. Although there was a character from The Silent Patient that made a brief appearance in The Maidens, cool. Which I love. I absolutely love when that happens. So, but I did give it a 5-star. I did really, really enjoy it.
Awesome. I think it's hard when an author writes a really, really, really good, really popular book and then writes another one afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's very hard to live up to the hype. Yeah.
So my first book that I finished this month is one that we both read, and it was The Witch's Heart. Do you know how to say her last name? First name is Genevieve Gornischek?
Gornischek?
Sure.
Gornischek.
Sure. It was The Witch's Heart. I'm sure you've heard about it. It got really, really popular a couple months ago.
I guess I should probably just talk about it right after you.
Yeah. I think we briefly started to talk about it before we filmed, but I think she probably liked it better than I did. I still gave it 4 stars. I think the book was beautiful and I think it was well written. I don't read a lot of retellings, and I'm also not super familiar with Norse mythology. I'm more of like a Greek mythology kind of person. I thought the story was good. I think my biggest complaint was that the pacing was a little weird for me. I felt like...
I could see that. Okay, I could see that.
We in the beginning would like skip months, and then I felt like certain days where we were living through her were too long, and then things happened really quickly, and I sort of feel like that happened in the beginning with her and Loki, how it was weird how quickly their connection kind of sparked, and I kind of didn't buy into it for a while. I do, however, enjoy how it all kind of led up to the end with the conversation with Hel. I love that, and I love how in the end the story that we as readers read and lived became a story for Hel's children and grandchildren. I loved that aspect at the end.
Yes.
That was probably my favorite. And I also liked the character arc that Boda, is that what we call her?
Yeah.
Okay, because I can't say her full name.
There's no way I can say that full name.
No.
At all. Boda is what it's going to be.
She had the coolest character arc. I think that one of the coolest character arcs I've ever
The most
written.
unique.
Yeah.
And interesting.
That I've ever read.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like she started out completely like stripped without her heart,
bare,
and weak. And then in the end, she's like battling these like Norse monsters. Like I remember this part where she's like battling this giant snake, and she said I willed his neck to snap.
Yeah.
Like she just willed his neck to snap, and it did.
That's it.
Yeah, and
That's
so I
what she
love
did.
that arc. So overall, I did give it 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I read it, once I got into it, I read it very quickly. I think just like I said, the pacing was just weird for me.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
There were definitely parts that were definitely drawn out, or some that felt rushed. I can definitely agree with that. There was, like, I was really into the book, but some parts I was like, okay, come on, already. Come on, let's get this.
Yeah.
So definitely.
And then some of it I was like, whoa, that wasn't explained. I'm confused how we got here.
Yeah, there were a few parts that I had to read over.
Yeah.
And plus, I'm the same. Like, this is actually my first, like, introduction to any kind of Norse mythology. But I do have to say that it really piqued my interest, and I do want to read some more on Norse mythology. I did give it 5 stars because I really, like she was saying with the character arc with Boda, I just felt like it was so powerful. Like, even without the magical aspect of it, I just felt like it was such a powerful, like, for a woman to really find herself. Yeah. Like, rebuild everything.
I like that
and
it wasn't, I almost kind of like that in the end, like, there wasn't like a cute little ending with her and Loki. Like, she really did that shit herself.
She did it herself. She really did. It was all her.
And she's a legend now. And I think that was my favorite part about the end when they were telling the story about her. Is that we as readers got to live it, and then hear her become a legend. Like, it almost kind of felt like you were part of her history.
And I just thought it was so cool the way they did, like, her and Loki's kids. Yeah. And the way it turned with, like you said, with Hel and everything. It was just the coolest telling ever. I just thought it was so cool. Yeah. Although I will tell you, because I did not know anything about Norse mythology, I was freaking out a little bit when she gave birth to the wolf and the snake. So it freaked me out.
Norse mythology and Greek mythology have a lot of differences, and that's the biggest one. And when she was talking to those animals, and they were like speaking to her,
I was like,
that's like not something I'm super familiar with, and so it kind of took me back for a second. But
then I had to remember, like,
this is a very different thing.
This is a very different thing. Yeah. So, you know, but it did pique my interest.
Like in the end, when like I think it's Fenrir is how you say it.
Yeah.
When they're having like this whole conversation, and I'm like, this animal,
big old fucking wolf.
Yeah. I was like, okay. But I liked it.
It was good.
I would definitely delve into it again in the future. I think that the pacing thing was maybe just a matter of opinion on my part, because everybody else loves it and it was written really beautifully. The author did a great job. So.
She did. Yeah. She did. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful story.
The imagery. I love a book with good imagery, and I think that this one had good imagery.
Yeah. And the friend, the best friend, I can't remember her name.
I know.
That was
Who
very
used to
good.
bring her stuff, and yeah, I don't remember her name either, but I did love her.
That was really good.
Yeah.
So the next one that I read was Beach Read by Emily Henry.
I want to read this one so bad.
So good. 5 stars for sure. I really think Emily Henry is one of my new favorites. She's this character, these characters that cracked me up. Okay, this was one of the funniest, like, most witty books I have ever read. I really loved it. I really loved it.
That's what everybody says. I don't read a ton of rom-coms, but I'm still interested
in it.
Listen,
neither do I. Okay, neither do I, but I read this one, and then actually right now, because we're filming in July, I just finished her second one.
Oh, so that'll be in your next month.
So that'll be in next month, but really, I enjoyed it. I really liked her writing. I liked the characters. They were very quirky, and it was a very quick read for me.
Oh, I love that. Speaking of quick reads, my next one just came out last month, and so I read it. I started reading it the day it came out. It was Say Yes by Candy Steiner.
I've seen that everywhere.
It was so good. So I gave it 4.5 stars. The only reason I bumped down that half a star is because I feel like, and once again, this is just a personal thing, I like a little bit more angst. I feel like they're kind of, the hump that they had to get over in their relationship was resolved a little too quickly for me. Do you ever feel like that with books sometimes, where like the hero kind of does something really horrible, and then he's like professes her love, and the girl's just like, okay. Like, I kind of wanted that to drag on a little bit more. I felt like she should have felt some type of way about it, and she didn't. But that, once again, personal opinion. I still give it 4.5 stars. This one had great pacing. I never felt like anything was rushed. I feel like it was definitely a slow burn, but not too slow. Like I didn't feel like she was dragging anything longer than it needed to be. It also takes place in the 90s, which I think is really interesting, and it takes place in Rome. So basically these two characters are in like an art school, like a it's like a study abroad thing for college, except he's a little bit older than her. He's in his late 20s and she's 22. And she's kind of at like this crossroads in her life where she needs to decide if she's going to pursue art full time or if she's going to use her accounting degree. And so she's taking this time to like really prove to herself and prove to her parents that she can be an artist and that she is an artist. But her professor is saying that like her work is boring and there's no emotion in it. And it's because she hasn't lived, you know, she's always lived in this small town with her parents and she has a disability. Her hand is like underdeveloped. And so she's always kind of been very careful. And so the whole premise of Say Yes is for one night, she says yes to anything that comes across. And this guy, Liam, kind of helps her with that. Like, they like go to this concert and they go across the city and she does hand modeling even though she's super insecure about her underdeveloped hand. And it's like all these things and they really connect. And then the next day he like pretends like it never happened. It's because of course he's got like this, you know, dark past like they always do. But they really kind of connect, and then he sort of develops and he needs to do some growing on his own before he can be in a relationship with her, and that's kind of where their big fight happens. But okay. I liked it. I read it in like 2 days. I was really interested in them as characters and their relationship and how he was going to handle everything that happened in his past, and I think that it all wrapped up really nicely. And then it kind of fast forwarded to the future and you find out that she was like some, you know, super successful artist, which I loved because she really had a heart for it. So I loved it.
We love character
and
growth.
It was like the perfect summer read. So like with the weather right now, if anybody like was like, hey, I'm gonna go to the beach, I need like a good summer read, this is 100% what I would recommend to them. It was great.
Yeah, that's how I felt about Beach Read.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I picked it up, because I was like, it literally is called Beach Read.
Yeah.
So, I mean, self-explanatory.
I don't read a ton of books that like take place in other countries. Like I think that was really unique.
Yeah, that is really unique.
And Candy talked about how she's been to Rome and she used kind of her experience there, and you could tell with the imagery that like she was somebody who had been there. And like eating food, she like referenced food that she ate, and so it was really cool.
That works.
Yeah.
That works. I always appreciate that.
Yeah.
The next one I read was Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I gave this one 4 stars. I always have like differing opinions on his books. This is probably my favorite out of his so far. However, I was really surprised. When I first started the book, I was expecting it to be more like creepy, haunted, like paranormal hotel type thing, because originally it started with like the girl like woke up in the hospital and they were like, you were in an accident, you were hit by a car, or maybe you hit the car. Like the doctor said, they were unsure of what happened. And she was like, I got out. And they were like, you know, you were found outside of this hotel. And she's like, please don't make me go back. Please don't make me go back. So then it flashes back to like 6 days before that. And she's like interviewing to be this apartment sitter. So I'm like, oh my God. And all this like creepy stuff starts happening. So I'm like, is this like a haunted type of place? And then it turned into something totally different. So I was expecting something completely different. And then, like, it just took a weird turn.
But were you pleasantly surprised?
I was pleasantly surprised. Okay. I was pleasantly surprised. However, it would have been kind of cool if it was, like,
if it was
haunted. Like, obviously, it wasn't. I was wrong. I was really wrong. Wasn't expecting it. I was not prepared for the weirdness that came at the end. But it was good. It was good. I gave it 4 stars.
Yeah.
Because, you know, sometimes I have some issues with the way he writes. Some of it's still not very believable to me, but it's getting better.
You know, up until right now, I thought Riley Sager was a female.
So, fun thing is actually, that is why I do not believe that's actually his name. I believe it's a pseudonym, and I believe he uses it because in the genre of psychological thrillers, it's actually shown in sales that women authors sell more than male.
Oh, that's kind of, I don't know how I feel about that, but that's kind of interesting.
So,
yeah.
I don't know where I read that. You guys can fact check me on that, but I read that somewhere.
I'm sure that's true. And now that I'm thinking about it, like most psychological thrillers that I've read, at least the good ones, have been by female. So
yeah.
So
sorry, I just gave away all his secrets.
Right. The next one that I read is the one that I was kind of referencing earlier. It was In the Absence of the Sun. It's a poetry collection.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And
this is gonna be the one.
Yes.
You are not a poetry reader.
I don't like poetry, and I keep trying to get myself to, and I think I'm done trying to get myself to like it. I think I just need to accept that it's not for me, because not everything is for everybody. It's not something that resonates with me. Which is weird, because when I was in high school, I used to read a lot of poetry, and I liked it, and now that I'm older, I just can't. Like, it just doesn't resonate with me anymore.
I just read your note.
What, this one on the bottom?
Yeah.
This felt very edgy Tumblr-esque for me. Like, it felt like something that I would pin on my Tumblr board, like when I was 12, and I was wearing, like, ripped tights and black skater skirts. So,
yeah.
Like, that's what that felt like to me. It was all very, like, deep and, like, what is life and is it even worth it sort of situation. It was just, it wasn't my thing. I gave it a 2 stars. To be honest, I don't know why.
I just don't think you're
I don't think it's fair for me to give it like a
reader.
1 star or a 0 star because I don't read poetry, so I don't know if this is good in the grand scheme of poetry.
Right.
It just wasn't.
I think that's fair for you to say, like, I'm just gonna give it a 2 star to be, like, nice, basically. And I've heard a lot of people talk about it, so I don't know if other people like it. Who's that by?
I didn't write down the author. I'd have to look on Goodreads. I did not enjoy it. It was not my thing. Emily Curtis is the author.
Okay. I haven't heard of that. So.
No, I think I don't know. Like, it reminds me of, like, poetry that people repost on Instagram, but, like, not in a good way. Like, it just did not resonate with me the same way. I kind of found myself rolling my eyes a lot with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It is what it is. It was a very quick read. That's what I have to say about poetry, is you can read the whole collection very quickly.
Yeah, you can just sit there and read it.
Mm-hmm.
One sitting.
Yeah.
It's a very quick thing.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, if I'm behind on my Goodreads list,
You'll just read a poetry collection.
I'll just read a poetry collection.
But you like poetry.
I do like poetry. I'm picky on it, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not because I was never a real big poetry reader.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gotten into it, but I am picky on my poetry.
Yeah.
I kind of stick to the people that I know I like poetry from.
That's fair. I don't know. Not for me.
The next one I read was Golden Girl from Ellen Hildebrand. This one I kind of had mixed feelings. I did end up giving it a 4 star because I did like the idea of it. So this idea was a mom was hit by a car, and so she passes away, and you get to see her in heaven. She gets to watch over her family for a month, like I think it's 2 months, like through the summer. And she gets 3 nudges. She can nudge her children 3 times to prevent them from, like, a bad decision or nudge them in the correct direction. And she can also revisit all of her old memories, like, while she's up there. She has this summer to do that. And then you also get to see, like, how the kids handle her death, and then, all of the family, and you get all this family drama. And she's divorced. Her husband has been with a new woman, much younger than him, for 10 years, but has never really gotten over his wife. He really didn't want to leave his wife.
So why did he leave his wife?
Because he's a fucking man.
Okay.
Stupid. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's just stupid. I hated him.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that out there right now. I hated him. The reason, I really liked the mom. She died. Okay, so this is...
she's dead in the beginning of the book.
She's dead in the beginning of the book. Okay. That's how the book opens.
Yeah.
Okay. So I really related with the mom so much and watching the children and the nudges, and I really liked that whole idea. My problem, the reason it got 4 stars was I had a really hard time relating to any of the kids and any of the, like, 'cause it was a very privileged life. Everyone had a very privileged life, and it was just very not relatable for me. So a lot of the emotions surrounding like the death and like wanting to help the kids and everything like that, I understood. It was it was a good read, but not relatable.
Like they didn't deserve to be helped, maybe.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah.
They were all kind of brats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really. And then there were a few things that were like, with the son, I felt there was like a bigger issue with the son that there should have been more addressed, and it was just kind of glimpsed over. And then there was this huge secret with the daughter. She was having an affair with her sister's married, okay? The oldest daughter is married. Her brother-in-law was sleeping with her sister.
So the sister and the brother-in-law were sleeping together?
Yes.
She was sleeping with her sister's husband?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Not her sister's husband.
Okay.
But her sister's brother-in-law.
Okay. Who was also married?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And that never came to light. Like, that was a nice little secret that was just tucked away. And I was kind of irritated about it because I felt like they should have been put on blast.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
But
that's an interesting concept
like,
for a book, for sure.
Yeah, it was an interesting concept. I liked it. There were just a few things that I was just like, oh, okay, we're just gonna wrap this up in a tight little bow and not.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it because it's more of like a summer read and it's a happy one. But I was just like, oh, that's not how it works. That's not how life goes. But
Yeah. Alas.
I do like the drama. So.
Yeah. So the next two that I'm going to talk about, I came across when I was like unpacking because I just moved a few months ago, and I kind of came across these plays that I read and performed back in like my theater days in high school, and so I decided to reread them. And the first one I did was Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. And I think it's funny to revisit things that you read when you were younger because your opinion changes on them a lot. I remember thinking that this was like gold. Like this was like performance gold, and that Arthur Miller was a genius for writing this. And now I just find that it's like very, like literally I have like my theater notes. This is like the position that I was in. And it's just very trivial, and it's kind of all about how meaningless Willie's life is. And I just found the whole thing exhausting to read. And so I don't, I don't understand how I ever felt that way about it because I don't think that it's necessarily very good.
Didn't you say he's very pretentious?
Very pretentious, and that's kind of at the root of it all. It's all sort of like his life was meaningless because he never accomplished anything he said he was going to when he was younger, and I just don't believe that. I think like your goals and what you want out of life can change, but this character Willie like never, like it was just like his whole life was meaningless because of it, because he was just a working middle-class person. And I think that's what Arthur Miller intended for us to think, is that like being a working middle-class person is just completely useless. And I don't like that. So that's my opinion on it.
I don't like that either.
No.
I don't really like Arthur Miller either.
No.
But we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
I have, feelings. So we're not going to get into that though. So the next one I read, I was super excited for, Will, the second book in the Men of Bird's Eye series by Kat Savage. I was super fucking excited. Hawk was the first one, which I fucking loved. This one I super, super, super loved. So, the Men of Bird's Eye is about a tattoo studio and the tattoo artists that work there. And Will is the only girl.
Oh.
Yeah, her name is Willette.
Love that.
And this one is about Willette and her huge crush on Hawk's doctor brother, who comes back to town.
Okay.
It was such a good book. It was such a good book. I like read it in 2 sittings. Such a good book. And that's all I'm going to tell you.
Gotta go into a blind.
Yeah, 5 stars.
Yeah.
Go read it right now. Immediately. And then there's another one coming out. I think there's a few more that are actually coming out in a series, but
Oh, cool.
So
it's one you can get into.
Yes, I love this series so much.
You do. I need to read the first one. I'm going
to.
That's gonna be my goal for July. I'm gonna read the first one.
Yes, yes you do. I think I know I have it.
Okay.
He's up here somewhere.
The final one that I read was, once again, just one of the plays that I reread, was Picnic by William Ng, I think is how you say it. This was such a throwback to me because this is one that I really had fun performing. I played Rosemary, if you were curious. This was another one that was just really trivial to me. It was very like small town drama-esque. Small town in the South. You know what I mean? And they're all kind of wrapped up in each other's drama.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it though. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I'm trying to read my notes. Yeah, that's all I put down, was that it was just kind of like the small southern town drama trope, and that they really played off of that. But I found it really entertaining. It's all kind of about like this handsome guy that comes to town, and then like people are kind of fighting over him, and he's paying attention. He's paying attention to somebody that nobody thinks he should be paying attention to because she's not like the pretty one, and so it's like that sort of thing.
This new handsome stranger.
Yes, exactly. I liked it though. I liked the reread. It was a great throwback for me. So
that's cute.
Yeah.
The next one that I read was They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. There's been a whole lot of hype about this one. Seen it everywhere.
Yeah, I have no desire to read it, but I'm glad that you did so I can hear your thoughts.
So, yeah, like, here's the thing, is usually when I hear, like, a huge hype about a book, I tend to not want to read it. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. Because usually it never lives up to the hype for me. But I was pleasantly surprised for this one. Especially because it's young adult, so I've kind of gotten away from that genre. I usually find myself rolling my eyes a lot when I read young adult, just because, well, young adults, they annoy me, to be honest. But I give this one 4 stars. I really liked the plot behind this one. It's not what I thought it was going to be when I went into it. So there's this business, I guess you could say, called Deathcast. I think it's called Deathcast, something like that, where they call you from midnight to 3 o'clock in the morning. They're making phone calls, and they call you and they tell you pretty much, this is your day, like, you're gonna die today within the next 24 hours.
Interesting.
So pretty much it starts with the two people that are getting the call, and then there's a bunch of other people that you meet throughout the day, and their families and how they're affected. And then there's also a website called Last Friends. That's how the two people, you know, they both die at the end, meet. They meet through this website called Last Friends. So the two people that are the main characters don't actually know each other until they get these calls. So it's very interesting to follow them and like have them create this friendship over 24 hours because they both know they're gonna die. And to see how they both handle such a heavy thing and what they learn from each other.
I feel like it's sort of weird that you would, on your last day, become friends with somebody new instead of spending your time with like your family.
There's a reason behind that.
Okay.
There's a huge reason behind that for both of them.
Okay.
So one of them is literally by himself besides his dad. And his dad was just in an accident and is in a coma.
Oh, okay.
The other one is in a foster family. And he actually, while he was getting the call, he was like beating the shit out of some dude. And while he was having his goodbyes with his family, like having his funeral, they were essentially doing his funeral. The dude that he was beating the shit out of showed up and called the cops on him. So he was running from the cops for most of the day. So he couldn't go home.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's the only reason that they ended up with Last Friends.
That's interesting.
It was a pretty interesting.
Did they in fact both die in the end?
They did both die in the end, yes.
Yeah. I look at people on TikTok who are like, it's so sad, and I'm like, well, it's literally in the title that they're both gonna die.
So like, I mean, yeah. I mean, I felt the same way when they were like, the Song of Achilles is so sad, and I'm like, well, I mean, I know the story of Achilles, so
Yeah.
he's gonna die.
Tragic.
You know, I don't know. I have my feelings on that.
Yeah. It's besides the point.
It's besides the point. You know, when I expected the death, so I didn't cry.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say I cried, but it was an interesting book.
Yeah.
And it really did keep my attention, and I did not find myself like, oh, this is this is not relatable, this is not believable.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked this one.
Good.
And it didn't feel like a young adult read to me, honestly. You don't have any more, right?
I don't.
Okay. So the last one that I read was The Middle Place by Kelly Corrigan. This was a memoir. It's about a woman who is diagnosed with breast cancer. And at the same time she's diagnosed with breast cancer, her father gets diagnosed with bladder cancer.
Oh my God.
And he had, I believe it was prostate cancer previously in his life. But pretty much she just tells the story of her family and, you know, her childhood, like growing up, and how much she admires her father, and just her relationship with everybody throughout the years, her brothers and everybody, and how she handles the treatment, how her father handles the treatment, you know, and her husband. She has a very supportive husband, and then her kids, you know, and it was such a good memoir, to the point of, like, I almost felt at one point that I was like reading a fictional book, because like her family was like, they were just such good people. Like,
it's a good storytelling too,
Yeah.
to make you feel like that.
Yeah, it was really good. I really, really highly recommend this memoir. It was very, very good. Also, I felt it was believable. I don't feel like she like sugarcoated any of it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's
I
important
feel like
too.
it was very believable.
Yeah.
Especially since, you know, I've been there.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was very true, and I really enjoyed it. So I think everyone should pick that one up. Alright guys, that's all we read in June. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when we post next. And we will see you guys later.